Guys, this stream has been amazing. Give me the camera. Here I am. Guys, don't forget that all summer of gaming long IGN. Oh, no, I'm reading the wrong thing. I'm like out of it. I literally can't believe what we've done. All right, guys, we're mere moments away from IGN Expo Day 2. Even more exclusive trailers, new gameplay, and interviews with some incredible developers. And as for our charities, we've raised a collective total of $14,673 so far for the World Health Organization and the Bail Project. The Bail Project works to restore the presumption of innocence and reunite families separated by mass incarceration. The COVID-19 Response Fund responds to COVID-19. You know, we're trying to stop it. Both very worthy causes, so keep the donations coming in. And we'll be back tomorrow with Jesus Here's Toast with Bloodborne. For extra Summer of Gaming goodness, download the TikTok app, follow IGN, and search for IGN Summer of Gaming hashtag to watch along with live events and submit your own Summer of Gaming moments, reactions, and plays. Also, don't forget to leave us a Yap video comment on IGN.com, and it could wind up on today's episode of News, Games, and More. Guys, that's going to do it for me. Thank you all for everything you guys have done. I will see you tomorrow, but for now, get ready because IGN Expo Day 2 starts right now. Yes, yes.
Welcome back to IGN Summer of Gaming. It's a multi-day streaming extravaganza packed with brand new trailers, next-gen reveals, exclusive announcements, and never-before-seen gameplay. Exclusively here on IGN. In just moments, IGN's own Summer of Gaming Expo Day 2 kicks off, where we'll be showing off tons of brand new games and speaking with the people behind them, like Samurai Jack creator Gendy Tartakovsky, who's bringing world premiere gameplay from Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. But we can't spoil all the surprises in this intro. Prepare yourself, because for the next few hours, you won't want to miss a beat. IGN Summer of Gaming Expo number 2 starts right now.
Can't remember a thing.
Hey! I've got him!
It's payback time!
I see him! Over there!
Well, well.
Can't you see? Don't you know what I am? I'm a man with a plan, and it's time you understand.
Get him!
Yeah, goddamn, man, I make it look easy. I make it
You can't get away.
Like I make it look easy, yeah.
We better create a diversion. Bad place to be. This is not good. I've fallen into my own trap. Jones, do you read me?
Use the scope. I'll cover you. Come on!
Alpha 2 to Burger. Suspicious individuals.
Who am I?
All agents alert, get ready, he's on his way.
Hey! IGN Summer of Gaming has just begun, but you probably already knew that because we've been promoting this since April. I'm one of your hosts, Cindy Goodman, and joining me are Up at Noons, Max Scoville, and Brian Altano.
Hey, Sid. Normally in June, we would come to you live from a big studio down the street from a massive trade show to check out brand new video games for a whole week straight. But this year, we are doing things a little bit differently. And instead of just 1 week, we are bringing you multiple weeks of completely ballooned out, overstacked gaming coverage, which is good for you. And I don't know if that's great for our mental health, but we'll make do.
We'll make it work. We'll be carrying all the big video game announcement streams being dropped by all your favorite publishers and studios, so you can get all your info, IGN and otherwise, in one place, which is right here. And we're doing it for a good cause, too. Throughout our Summer of Gaming, we're hosting a slew of gaming events for charity. You might have caught the Titanfall 2 speedrun before we started. We're doing one of those each day before our coverage kicks off to raise money for the World Health Organization and the Bail Project. Later on today, we'll have special Summer of Gaming episodes of our regular series and potentially even more important Sony's State of Play showcase, which was wildly expected to be the first reveal of the actual PlayStation 5, potentially even the box itself, which we haven't seen, despite talking about it for years now.
You know, I think if they hype that up and show PS4 games, people will be pissed. Anyway, on Tuesday, June 16th, we'll be getting an intimate look at some celebrity homes and Animal Crossing islands as these celebrities take us on virtual tours on stream to raise money in support of the COVID-19 response fund and to reunite families separated by mass incarceration. You can donate at donate.ign.com or by following the links in the video description. Make sure you check in all month long for nonstop gaming news. And if you're watching from your living room, you can even watch it all on channel IGN1 on your Samsung TV Plus.
Check out the full schedule at IGN.com. You can also follow IGN on the TikTok app. Search for IGN's Summer of Gaming hashtag to unlock a bunch of bonus content and to upload your very own awesome gameplay clips. Anyway, enough delightful talk from three gorgeous professional presenters. I think very highly of us.
Disagree.
Oh, that we're not gorgeous, or that it's not enough talk from us?
I think it's the word professional, really. That's the one that I get hung up on that. Look at this. Look at this nonsense.
Fair enough.
Both of you are wildly unprofessional, and that's why I'm very excited to work with you. All right, it's time to get things kicked off with a bang. A fresh stack of brand new game trailers only here as part of IGN Expo Day 2, deep in the heart of the Summer of Gaming. That sounded threatening, but it's going to be really fun. Roll it!
My name is Evan Capnose. My identity has been foreclosed.
You are in a stalemate, Mr. Capnose. Until the auctioning, your ID is going to be suspended.
The implants we get at birth are state property. Corporations buy the ID debt from the state. Your implants are not exactly compliant.
They took everything from me, but they left me with nothing to lose.
If we don't work together, we will both lose everything.
Have a nice day, Mr. Capnose.
walls of a place where everyone comes together to play and dance and race and shoot and jump and fly with jetpacks or maybe bat wings. And there's lava and a mountain made of junk food. Where you can create your own worlds and have your own adventures where you are in charge. Where you can make your very own games with your very own rules. And all your friends can come and play. Like this one here. Yep, them too. And I don't know what that dude is, but he is cool. What? They're all toys? Come to life. And I can actually play with them and own them all. That's f***ing sweet. But you see, this place isn't a legend at all. It's a party. Let's party.
Oh, hey, check out spellbreak.com/IGN to get a free exclusive in-game skin. Coming up later in the expo, we've got tons of never-before-seen trailers and interviews with the developers of some of the hottest upcoming titles. But right now. It's samurai time! Samurai! Cartoon lovers should be no stranger to Samurai Jack, the time-traveling swordsman whose long-running cartoon adventures came to an end in 2017. Well, now he's back in video game form. We got a chance to talk about it with Samurai Jack creator Gendy Tartakovsky. Max, take it away, Samurai!
Samurai Jack's animated adventures came to a grand finale in 2017, but now this time-traveling samurai is back in Samurai Jack Battle Through Time, a brand new original video game. Here to tell us about it, I'm joined by Samurai Jack's creator and animation legend, Gendy Tartakovsky.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for making a bunch of amazing cartoons that have clearly inspired my own personal laboratory. Let's talk about Samurai Jack. This is a brand new story. It's by Derek Bachman. It takes place within the sort of Samurai Jack timeline, but walk us through exactly sort of where and when, aside from through time, this is taking place.
Well, I think it kind of picks up right where we were finishing the last season, the finale of the whole thing. And it starts, we created a new mythology where it kind of starts as an alternate timeline, and Aku sends Jack through that timeline, and now, of course, Jack has to fight his way back and defeat Aku. But this time, the adventures are kind of similar, fresher, because for the first time, you actually get to control Jack and really fight all those amazing villains and henchmen and have the friends along the way that we've experienced through watching the show.
Now, this is the first Samurai Jack game in 16 years. There was the PS2 game that came out in 2004. Can you sort of talk about sort of the difference in perception of not just Samurai Jack, but kind of video games in general? It feels like it's you're under the Adult Swim mantle this time around. Does that give you any more sort of leeway?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 16 years ago, it was video games were, especially for licensed characters, for a kids' TV show, so to speak. You kind of get the B-class treatment, right? You just kind of go into whatever engine they have. They do some new graphics, but generally it's not great. And they were doing it while I was in production on the show, so it's hard for me to be super involved. And because it takes a commitment and a love to do this right, even for video games, for a TV show, for anything. And so it kind of came out and it kind of lacked what we all thought a video game could be. And then now fast forward here, the show is more popular. The show has existed for 16 years more, and people have really gone to love it. And there's a more of respect towards it. So the new game is a lot more of what we wanted it back then, and even more. So it's completely different from my point of view, from what it was to how far it's come now.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about the gameplay a little bit here. Obviously, we're going to see lots of sword swinging action because he's a samurai after all. But we also got sort of a pole arm here with some magic coming out of it. We got a shot of him in the trailer with some heavy firepower. Can you tell us about the combat a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inspired by of course the normal samurai stuff, the classic, but just like in the show, Jack's able to use a lot of what's around him to be inventive, and I think there's some stuff where he actually uses one of the Ku drone's arms, and he slashes with it. There's a bow and arrow, I think. And so there's a lot of variation. There's a trident like we see here. And also taking cue from when Jack was lost in the last finale season, he also uses some guns and stuff where we never would have him use a gun in the first few seasons. But a lot of the locales are totally inspired by what we did in the show. And so it's kind of great because if you're a fan of the show, you'll recognize the environments instantly, and you can kind of look forward to some of the villains from that environment. At the same time, we've also swapped some other villains to come in all the different various environments.
Nice. And you've got some familiar returning characters as well, I hear.
Yes, of course. I mean, you could never do it without the Scotsman, and here, of course, is Demongo, who's one of the fan favorites, has been. And what's also fantastic is we were able to use the original voice cast, right? I mean, besides Mako, of course, who passed away. But yeah, so there's an authenticity to it that I think is sometimes you don't get in other games based on properties.
This is awesome. Now, something I'm really curious about, this is developed by Soleil, which is a studio based out of Japan. Obviously, Samurai Jack is a Western cartoon heavily influenced by Japanese media and culture, and now you've got a Japanese team developing a game based on that. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship?
It's been really good. I mean, I think for whenever you do these things, it's always great if there's a fondness and appreciation from the team that's actually going to be doing all the work. If it's just all about money and they feel like they could take advantage of the name of the property, then it becomes kind of, they don't understand the essence of it. But I know, like Derek, who wrote this, he traveled to Japan and he met with them and he walked into their offices and they had Samurai Jack posters and they were asking about me, so they were appreciative of it. And doing even I remember back then when I first started the show and it actually started to air in Japan, I was really worried. I'm like, oh no, they found out I'm a fake. They'll see through everything I've done. No matter how much of a whatever fan or appreciation that I had of Japanese culture and especially the samurai code and culture, they would still know that I'm a phony. But so I remember I was at the studio once and we had some visitors from Japan, some of these cable operators. They were just businessmen. And this is years ago. And they came into my office and I was introduced to them. And Samurai Jack just started airing on their cable network. And they were like, you got it right. You did a really good job. We love the show and it feels sincere. And that was the biggest compliment I could ever get. That it was it worked in Japan.
So cool.
It didn't I didn't embarrass their culture or appropriate it or whatever, all that kind of stuff.
I love that. So now, obviously, like Samurai Jack has been around for almost 20 years, and people who maybe were watching Samurai Jack as kids they're now adults and they're out making video games and stuff. Have you sort of had any encounters with people working on the game who fanboy out and get completely overwhelmed by it, or is it?
A little bit, like it's more about in general. I think like you said, it's been around for so long. It's been able to influence a lot of artists going into video games and animation in general. And so when I go to conventions and all that kind of stuff, and I meet these people, when I was influenced by Bugs Bunny cartoons and Popeye and some Disney stuff. Tex Avery, and of course, by the time I got into the industry, most of them were all gone, if not all of them. And so I was never really able to meet any of the people who inspired me to go into animation. And now it's been pretty incredible. When I go to conventions, I meet the people who say, well, yeah, I got into the industry because of Samurai Jack. Or I love to draw because of Samurai Jack and all this stuff. And it's beyond comprehension that something like this can, affect people and really show them the direction in their life, which is so, it's such a huge honor to inspire anybody, really.
That's phenomenal. That's really cool to hear. Now, I have to ask, you mentioned it very briefly there, Popeye. Do you have any word on the Popeye movie that I heard you were working on at one point?
No comment on any of that stuff, so.
Fair enough. I had to ask, though.
No worries.
Fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Gandhi. This was a huge pleasure. I am looking forward to checking out Samurai Jack Battle Through Time later this year.
Welcome back to check out this game on IGN Summer of Gaming, highlighting exciting, under-the-radar games worth your time. Strategy RPG Star Renegades has without a doubt one of the coolest looking pixel art styles I've seen in a long time, but it backs that look up with an exciting time-based combat system as well. Take a look at some exclusive new gameplay. Like what you see? Then head on over to IGN.com or YouTube.com/IGN to watch the full extended version of this gameplay.
That was the wonderful Tom Marks with some inside info on Star Renegades. If you like Tom, I have great news because he will be right back to tell us all about Iron Oath along with one of the game's developers. But first, a little tiny break. Stay tuned.
IGN Summer of Gaming is brought to you by Fuser, who'll be partying with us all summer long.
The next generation of video gaming is on the horizon, and IGN is here to bring you the latest PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X news and analysis in our new weekly show, Next Gen Console Watch 2020. We'll bring on the experts to discuss and analyze all the latest developments around these new consoles. From frame rates, services, features, peripherals, and even all the new tech jargon, Next Gen Console Watch 2020 will keep you up to speed on everything leading up to the next generation of gaming. Join us every Friday for a new episode.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, let's plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
Everybody loves watching a speedrun of their favorite game. But what if you got the opportunity to peek into the minds of the developers while they watch their games getting completely wrecked? That's exactly what happens in every episode of Game Devs React to speedruns.
You can do that. Oh my god!
We invite you to ride along with the developers as they react to, question, and enjoy some of the most skilled players exploiting and speeding through a game it took years of their life to create. Join us every Saturday for a new episode.
Hey there! Do you have opinions on games, movies, TV, or other weird stuff on the internet? You can take part in our new show, Power Ranking, where you can vote on all your favorite things on the internet. Do it now! Do it! Just go! Vote! Go vote!
News, games, and more is IGN's live news show every day of the week that covers all the day's news about games, movies, comics, and of course more. This is our daily live show that takes a rotating cast of IGN talent going over all the latest news of the day while taking live questions and comments from chat. We're live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. See you there.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to IGN Summer of Gaming. My name is Tom Marks, and I'm joined today by Chris Wingard and Nick Mueller, who's a little bit static today, of Curious Panda Games. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Doing very good. How about you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining me. We're here to talk about your game, The Iron Oath. So just to set it up, tell me a bit about the game. What is The Iron Oath?
I think, like, at its core, the game is about taking a mercenary company and just like living the life of a mercenary, like owning your own mercenary guild and managing all of that. That's sort of like the main thing that you'll be doing.
And that's through, as we're seeing here, pull up, tactics-based, kind of hex-based gameplay, right? It's a turn-based tactics game at its core as well.
Right, yeah. Right, yeah. So you're managing your guild, and then you take them on missions, and then the combat plays out on a hex grid.
And one of the things I wanted to touch on too is you guys started out on Kickstarter, I believe.
Yeah.
When? How long?
2017.
2017. So you've gone on long, like 3 years now. How has kind of that journey been?
It's been longer than we wanted it to, but we've made a lot of improvements to the game. And we've come a long way, and we're really happy with the state that it's in and where it's going, and really excited for people to get their hands on it, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Well, since we're seeing it right now, since we're seeing the combat, let's talk about that first. There's a lot of different flavors of turn-based tactics and hex-based stuff and all that sort of goodness. What kind of sets the Iron Oath apart? What did you want out of the combat? What's important to you, and what are players basically going to be thinking about? Like, what do you want them to think about while they're fighting?
You want to tackle that, Chris? Or want me to?
Yeah, you can jump in.
Yeah, so we really wanted, like, firstly, like, our hero design, we really wanted them to be pretty diverse and not, I guess, a bit different than, like, your stereotypical classes that you'd normally encounter in an RPG, like a guy who's just a tank and, you know, a typical mage who has ranged abilities sitting in the back. So we kind of, that's our main focus, just, like, having powerful characters who are unique, and then just, like the Pyrolancer, for example, that's a guy with black armor and the lance. He's a melee fire mage, so he's an example of that. And basically, like, we really just wanted to. Sorry.
I was just saying, yeah. Initially, he was just a guy that stood in the back throwing fireballs, and we decided, like, you know, that'd be kind of boring if we just completely took the tropes of every RPG and instead decided to give, like, a little bit of a twist on all of them. So instead of just standing back and throwing fireballs, he gets up and close and deals fire damage like that.
And that was one thing I was noticing watching this gameplay as well, is it seems like positioning is really, really important here. We already saw it a little bit earlier, but one character placed a little fire sigil, and then another character knocked them into that, which then knocked that person farther away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of synergies between abilities. Like the Pyrolancer places down that hex, and then there's a lot of abilities that can push or can pull, and so you gotta try to plan ahead and take that into account when you're trying to manipulate your positioning around the enemies and all that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of environmental hazards too. Like just then, he was standing on the little, like, glowing hex, and that one, if you're standing on it, you can't use certain abilities. So you have to, like, really plan out where you're going to go. And that was created by one of the enemies attacking. It spawned that beneath him, so you have to move around. But then also you have to really think about where you're going to move to, because like Dungeons and Dragons, there's, like, attack of opportunities. So if you get close to someone and then move away, they're going to get, like, a free hit against you. So you can't just move off of that hex. You have to really, like, think about what you're going to do. Is it worth taking the damage from the movement?
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like attack of opportunities is something that I would think I've seen more of that in tactics games, but it feels like this is one of the first I've actually seen lean into that idea.
Yeah, we really wanted to lean into that, and then also have ways around it. Like, it's not gonna, like, one of the problems that we thought we might run into is just characters would funnel to a point, and then they would just trade blows, and then it's done. So, but to counteract that, we have a lot of characters with mobility. So instead of just running into a place, like the Valkyrie is a class that she can fly several hexes across. So if she needs to get out of somewhere, she can use that to make a whole lot of distance. And then we have other abilities that, you know, can knock back, and then that allows you to walk away without getting hit with the attack of opportunities. There's, like, environmental hazards, like in a later part, there's, like, grass on the ground, and if you're standing in the grass, you can freely move through that and not get hit with an attack of opportunity.
And now we're seeing an overworld map screen. Can we tell me a little bit about this world and kind of the outside of combat, but, you know, this part of it? You're walking between towns, you're taking on missions as part of this mercenary company, right?
Yeah, this is where you'll be doing like half of the game. Half of the game is kind of in these dungeons doing combat. The other half is where you're actually managing your guild and exploring the world. And, like, just then what happened was it was moving to a town, and there was, like, a dynamic event that happened that said that you've encountered these this person that looks like they're in trouble, and you could choose to help them or not help them. So that's where, like, a lot of the events will come about, is from these just dynamic encounters that come about as you're exploring the world, or dungeons. Like, you might run across other events mid-dungeon that are unrelated to the quest you're currently tackling.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, text-based encounters. That's part of the inspiration is from D&D in that aspect. It's just, you know, little choose-your-own-adventure type things while you're on a mission. It's not necessarily part of that mission, but it's just something you can choose to do or not do.
And that's also what I feel like what a lot of Dungeons and Dragons campaigns end up becoming, or are from the outset, is essentially a band of mercenaries just running around taking jobs.
Right.
Yeah. I was also a big fan of, like, Berserk, like the Band of the Hawk, the manga, and I always thought that would be, like, really fun to really, like, play out a scenario like that.
And we we mentioned Valkyrie, which is now we're actually seeing in this fight as a class, but the characters specifically, are these randomized characters that kind of get assigned a class? Are they set characters that you'll meet out in the world? How does that sort of aspect of it work?
So they're each class, you recruit them, and they age, they retire, or they die in combat, and then you'll eventually have to replace them by recruiting new people. So the classes themselves, there's 8 classes that we'll be launching with, and they're not tied to a person. The person is dynamically generated whenever you need to recruit someone. And yeah, you just recruit them, you train them up, they have traits, they have personality traits, and there's different skills that you can level up within, they have like their abilities, and you can level up those abilities with different skills to try and augment them.
The characters can also be customized a little bit too. You can tweak the colors, also the portraits in the top left. Those can all be changed, so you can like give people different hair or hair colors or different, eye color, things like that.
I know one of the things you guys mentioned before we spoke here was the inspirations of kind of Darkest Dungeon and that coming into it. And you mentioned aging, and that sort of reminds me of that these characters are they're finite to a certain extent. You're not going to take one person all the way from the beginning of the game to the end of the game necessarily.
Right,
exactly.
Yeah. Everything you do in the game kind of like costs time. Essentially, like when you're traveling around the world, it takes time. It might take time for characters to heal. Like they can be injured. Like right now on the top left, you'll see there's little icons that show that he's got like an arm injury, a leg injury, and those things take time to heal. And different injuries take longer. Like if you get a light laceration, he might be ready for combat in a week. But if someone gets like a broken leg, they might be out for a couple months. So you have to make sure you have like a nice rotation of characters that you can bring in and out of combat.
Is there a base building management sort of aspect to it? Like how much is that actual management side of things? How deep does that go?
You definitely have to manage. Sorry.
No, that's right. You jump in there.
All right, sure. So you have to manage, the recruitment, obviously, first and foremost, and that was just a violent death right there that just occurred. And so you manage the recruitment aspect, and then you manage when you're recruiting someone, you have to manage the contracts. So the contracts kind of work like sports contracts, basically. So you sign someone, and they'll be with you for 5 years at a certain amount of gold per year. And then once that's up, you got to renegotiate a new contract. And then aside from that, you also have to kind of manage each individual's happiness a little bit. So if you're not using them, or you're not using them in the way they want to be used, or you're making choices that they don't necessarily agree with, they're going to have problems with that, and they might end up leaving your company. So you have to manage that aspect, and then as well with the whole overworld, there's a bunch of different factions. So you have to kind of manage your relationship with all these different factions, choose who you want to ally yourself with, and be wary of who you make enemies with, because they might send bounty hunters after you and stuff like that. So there's a decent amount of management to go on, but there is no base that you have for your company, but there is a skill tree that you can work towards getting different upgrades.
I got to tell you, Football Manager, but for D&D nerds, is something that appeals to me on a deep, deep level. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Thank you to both of you for sitting down with us, talking about it, and showing it off.
Yep, thank you very much for having us. We appreciate it.
For even more Summer of Gaming goodness, download the TikTok app, follow IGN, and search IGN Summer of Gaming hashtag to find a slew of bonus gameplay clips and upload your very own epic gaming moments.
I certainly do love the epic gamer moments. We just took a look at Star Renegades and Iron Oath, and now it's time for a chat about Foreclosed. And although it might sound like a depressing game about real estate and mortgages and your landlord, it's actually a colorful cyberpunk adventure. Here's your first look at some gameplay.
Foreclosed is a gorgeous new cyberpunk game with a beautiful graphic novel aesthetic. Here to tell me about it are Andrea and Lara from Antab Studios. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Hi, everyone.
So Foreclosed is set in obviously a beautiful cyberpunk dystopian future. Can you tell me a little bit about what this universe is like, who the main character is, and what is being foreclosed exactly?
Okay, yeah. So the main character is Evan Kapnos. You can see him into the gameplay video. And he's the everyday man in this dystopic future. And to tell about this story, we have to explain a bit about the context. So in this future, everyone has brain implants, and brain implants are used to be connected with cities, so to have any kind of interaction. The key concept is that the identity of a person is basically just a bunch of data, and it represents a node into a gigantic blockchain. And it's embedded into your brain implants. So it's something that is given to you by the state as soon as you are born as a way to interact with the universe. The absurd story of our character takes place because when you are old enough in this universe, companies can buy what we call the identity debt of the citizens. It means that since the implants you get from the state, they have a cost. That cost represents your debt to have an identity in this environment and to interact, to have any kind of transaction with the city, to buy stuff and so on. So companies buy this debt from the state, and you actually work for the companies basically to pay your debt. And the absurd thing that happens to Evan is that in a mysterious way, the company you work for goes bankrupt, and you have to understand why. But the main thing is that your identity gets foreclosed just like any other goods of the bankrupted company. And
yeah. And like at the very beginning, you just reach the court and do some paperwork just to try to find an escape from this bureaucratic mess, we may say. But what actually happened is that while you're trying to reach the court, some mysterious agents start to chase you and try to kill you. So now you have to find a way to escape from the city before the auctioning, but also not to get killed.
Yeah. Then there's a quick escalation of things that happens to the main character. As soon as you think the story is about fixing the paperwork, basically, what happens is that you are involved in something bigger than you, and the key story is that you have to understand what's going on. You have to try to survive and to get out of the bureaucratic mess.
So it sounds like some good dystopian noir, appropriately cyberpunk. Can you give us a sense of how the world is structured? We've seen some sort of, looks like some good exploration and going to different areas, but sort of how are players engaged with this world?
Okay, so we wanted to give the idea of that you will be playing a comic book, and we worked really hard to give this feeling. So the game is not an open world game, and it's mainly story driven, but we blend everything seamlessly together. So you will not have a feeling of different levels or level 1 or level 2 and so on. The storyline builds up as you move into this world, and you will not see loading times or something like that. So it's just a fluid, continuous experience. This is just to make the feeling that you are playing it's a fully playable cyberpunk comic book.
Yeah.
So this is the key thing. Yeah.
Let's talk about the combat a little bit. It looks like we're using some implants to throw dumpsters at people. Explain that, please.
Yeah, so as you're seeing, like, implants are extremely important in Foreclosed. They are like your curse and your blessing. And that's because you have an experimental firmware installed inside your implants. And this firmware is going to give you like incredible combat skills and powers. You may see inside the video you have like telekinetic kind of abilities, so you can lift object, throw the object, through the enemy. You can lift your enemy and like freeze them in the air. You can slam them down. You can do this kind of stuff. You also have a very special weapon, which is built to connect and work with your implants. And this is a symbiotic gun, we may call it. Yeah. So you can actually equip different kind of bullets, and this allows you to turn your weapon in what you want. So let's say you can transform a simple gun into a machine gun, or into an explosive kind of weapon. And you can also combine different kind of bullets together. One thing that you have to take care about is that because your powers and your implants are experimental, the system is a bit unstable. So when you use your powers, you're going to overheat your implant, and you have to take extremely care of the heating level of the device, because if you overheat the implant, you're going to stun. It's a very painful kind of overheat, and you have to wait until the system cools down completely before being able to use your powers again.
Yeah, so it's a continuous balancing of using the and mixing the power, and be careful because of the overheat system. And the powers are unlockable in a RPG style. So since it's depending from your firmware, it's going to upgrade itself as you progress through the story and you fight with enemies. In that way, you will basically have some upgrade cycles you can spend to decide what power is most suitable for you. And so you will see also in the gameplay video that you can throw stuff in the air. You can use telekinesis to attract objects and use them as shields, basically, to protect yourself. Or you can lift enemies, throw them on the floor, keep energetic shields on yourself. And mixing everything together with the gun powers, you basically make your own strategy for fighting.
Oh yeah, and like you're also seeing that in the video. You can also hack devices and systems all around, and depending on the device you're hacking, you will perform different acts, we may say. So for example, opening a door or making a cabinet explode, and you can even act brain implants of an unaware enemy.
Yeah, so we can use some stealth elements in some fight. It's not something that is always there, because we have stealth when it makes sense for the storyline, but it's also an ability you have as a player.
Yeah.
Well, you've both been clearly hard at work along with the rest of the team. What platforms are you looking at, and what kind of release date are we expecting?
For release date, we can just say it's going to be Q2 next year, so 2021.
Yeah.
And platform, we aim to, we are working on PC, on Xbox, Switch, PlayStation, so, all the main platforms.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing off Foreclosed. It looks great.
Foreclosed has closed for now. We're closed. Don't forget, all Summer of Gaming long, IGN is asking you, Brian, to donate to worthy causes by following the links in the description of this video or by heading to donate.ign.com. You can give to the COVID-19 Response Fund dedicated to studying, tracking, and combating COVID-19, or to the Bail Project, working to reunite families separated by the mass incarceration system.
And for even more Summer of Gaming goodness, download the TikTok app, follow IGN, and search for IGN Summer of Gaming hashtag for bonus gameplay clips and to upload your own awesome gaming moments. Next up, Blankos Block Party looks like a cross between Little Big Planet and collecting Funko Pops, but first, a quick break. We'll be right back with more IGN Expo number 2.
IGN Summer of Gaming is brought to you by Fuser, who'll be partying with us all summer long.
The next generation of video gaming is on the horizon, and IGN is here to bring you the latest PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X news and analysis in our new weekly show, Next Gen Console Watch 2020. We'll bring on the experts to discuss and analyze all the latest developments around these new consoles. From frame rates, services, features, peripherals, and even all the new tech jargon, Next Gen Console Watch 2020 will keep you up to speed on everything leading up to the next generation of gaming. Join us every Friday for a new episode.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, let's plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
News, games, and more is IGN's live news show every day of the week that covers all the day's news about games, movies, comics, and of course more. This is our daily live show that takes a rotating cast of IGN talent going over all the latest news of the day while taking live questions and comments from chat. We're live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can find us on mixer.com/IGN, youtube.com/IGN, and twitch.tv/IGN. See you there.
If you're not following IGN on social media, what are you waiting for? We're constantly updating our feeds to bring you the latest news, gameplay, custom original content, the best user-generated videos and art, memes, and a whole lot more. Be part of the conversation throughout the year. Follow IGN on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat.
You are a good giraffe, and that's why I love you. Yeah. Oh, hey, Sydney. Welcome back. Question, do you think children's toys come to life when no one's looking at night and you need friends?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they made like 4 movies about it, so it has to be true, right?
What about high-end designer vinyl toys for artsy collectors such as myself and my friend, the giraffe?
You know, they probably come to life too, since there's going to be a video game about it, and video games are pretty realistic.
They certainly are, and so is my giraffe. I can't fault that logic anyway. The game's called Blankos Block Party, and if I'm not mistaken, we've killed enough time with this fake back and forth for me to queue up an exclusive interview with one of the developers, so let's check it out.
Sweet, let's see it.
Let's see it.
Blankos Block Party is a game about a bunch of little vinyl figurines that come to life and get into all sorts of trouble. Here to tell me about it is Jamie Jackson, the Chief Creative Officer for Mythical Games. Jamie, how's it going?
Hey man, what's up, Max?
Who are these Blankos and who allowed them to have this block party? Tell me about this game. Tell me what's going on here.
Oh man, so Blankos, like you said, their vinyl toys come to life. We allowed them to have the party, I guess. There's a whole kind of this is where the kind of idea of is where Blankos go or where vinyl toys go when humans aren't in the room. So the place that they've created is their block parties. And then there's a kind of big place we call the Junction where they can go and hang out and train up and hang out with their friends. But the stuff that you're seeing now, this is actually all in the UGC side of it. So you can kind of build and create your own worlds too.
So that's a huge part of the whole like vinyl doll collectible scene, people customizing sort of existing figurines and stuff. Can you talk a bit about how in-depth the user-created content side of this is?
Yeah, sure. So from a Blankos side, we're actually working with a bunch of really cool vinyl artists to come and have their artwork in-game on Blankos, much like in the real world. But from the UGC side, this level, everything we're looking at now is all levels that we've been built in our editor. And the point of the editor really was to build it with a controller. We wanted to make it really easy for players to build worlds, whether it's just a hangout, somewhere they can go and hang out with their friends and do whatever they want, or they can actually drop gameplay in really easily. And it's not about having to code or open any boxes to type in code. It's everything can be done with a game controller. You just have to drop a toy in, really easy parameters to set. Season 1, we're going to be dropping things like this: shooting and racing, vibe collecting, kind of platform style gameplay. The key part is it's really easy to build levels.
Cool. So you're talking about controllers. What platforms are you guys looking at?
So we're going to be launching on PC later this year, and we're going to be announcing our console strategy in a couple of weeks, hopefully.
Very cool. Now, this is going to be a free-to-play game, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be free to play, so there's going to be a ton of content for players just to come in, play, build, even kind of train up a Blanko to a point. But then if you want all the cool Blankos and that kind of stuff, that's where you're going to be using the in-game currency to buy those.
Now, I can tell by the shelf behind you, you are a fan of urban vinyl and designer toys. Can you talk a little bit about some of the artists you've got involved so far?
So we're not getting into the artists yet, but if you know anything about this world and any of those artists that are in there, we've definitely got an amazing lineup coming. And we live in a world of seasonal content now, so we're going to just keep getting better and better.
Nice. Now, so in terms of sort of how how you said you're going to have racing and shooting and obviously plenty of platforming. What are you using to determine sort of what direction you want to go with things in terms of sort of you see?
Sorry, I missed that last bit.
Oh, sorry. Like what? Are you going to be sort of following the community's lead in terms of this, or do you guys have like a pretty strict plan in terms of what you want to roll out first and what kind of content you want to let people play around with?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really good idea of what we want to launch, but the main thing for us is to listen to the community as well. So we want to really kind of build for them, because the idea of Blankos is you kind of build what you want to play. That's the kind of approach we're taking with the UGC side. So although we have a ton of plans about what we want to bring, as we get through seasons, we start to see what players do and how they do it differently. We definitely want to listen to them. I think, the big thing for me, having made games for as long as I have, is players always play the games we've made in a totally different way than we expected them to. And we want to take that on board and just try and provide a bunch of really easy tools for them to do exactly that. And then watch what they do and listen to what they want and then drop that in them in future seasons.
Cool. Now, Mythical is a fairly new studio, is that right? But you've got a bunch of people who have like really a lot of experience and some pedigree. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, so we're almost coming up to 2 years old. But it was founded by myself, John Linden and Rudy Koch. John and I were both studio heads at Activision, so my background was DJ Hero and Guitar Hero. John and Rudy both worked a lot on Call of Duty, Skylanders franchises. So, even from just the three of us in the beginning, we kind of had a great pedigree, and we've just added to that, bringing in people from the mobile world as well. So having that great free-to-play expertise, World of Warcraft. So the games everyone's worked on have been pretty incredible.
What kind of lessons did you learn from sort of working in the AAA space that you're bringing to the table here and really sort of turning players loose with?
I mean, that's a great question. I think some of the biggest ones was don't assume you know everything the player's going to do at the beginning. Allow a little bit of room for them to make the game their own. I think, you see that in a lot of products these days as players find new ways to play, the developer's able to kind of switch around and kind of really enhance some of those options for them. So I think that's probably one of the big things. We've really kind of spent a lot of the first part of this project prototyping and playing with it and thinking about how do we want to play with these games? How would we want to build it, and not being a programmer or a coder or anything like that. So making sure it's really, really easy to get into, I think, has been the biggest one for me.
We're seeing a lot of level design here. Will the Blankos themselves be customizable? Will people be able to sort of do their own character creation?
There is going to be some things you can do to Blankos. As you play through the game and you play both like in the single player and also in the multiplayer and the kind of UGC modes, you're going to unlock different attachments. So you're going to be able to put different backpacks and jetpacks and various attachments on a Blanko. Some of them will just be cosmetic and just look really cool, but some of them are going to enhance the abilities that a Blanko has. And you can train your Blanko's abilities as you go through a game. So when you get a Blanko at the beginning, it will kind of start at 0, and you can train it to be good at different things. So you can make it really cool at the shooting. You could make it really fast and responsive for the platforming or racing. And we're going to announce some stuff a little bit closer to launch about some of the other things you can do to customize them.
Cool. Now, obviously, free to play does make some gamers raise their eyebrows, but we've seen a lot of really sort of successful models lately that manage to, balance making a profit with also offering a good user experience. Can you talk a little bit about how you're approaching monetization here?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I think there's some great examples out there now, and we're in a different world than we were 5 or 10 years ago. Our key thing is that anyone coming in just has a really good time straight at the beginning, and feels value even in that free-to-play piece. We're going to talk a little bit later on about our structure, but you're going to be able to buy Blankos. I think there's some great games out there that are, we all think in seasons now rather than Blankos 1, 2, and 3. So definitely expect us to kind of take that same approach and be dropping some great content in a seasonal approach.
Now, you mentioned some of the team, has a background in Skylanders. The sort of Toys to Life craze hasn't really had the best history recently. Are there any plans to make physical Blankos, or is this strictly going to be a sort of virtual collectible?
Well, Mythical's kind of thesis really is, owning digital content is the future for us. So the thing about Blankos is with each Blanko, you actually own these things, right? So they're yours to do with what you want. And that's about the digital ownership. Who knows whether we bring them into real world later on? I mean, they're designed around real toys, so it would be very easiest to do that. But right now, Blankos is all about digital ownership and you building the games that you want to play.
Awesome. And when are you expecting to sort of launch or have more information about that available?
We're aiming to launch at the end of the year, so towards the holiday period. And like I say, we're launching on PC. We're actually going to be having our kind of beta phase sometime towards the end of the year as well. And then we're going to be letting you know about our platform strategy pretty soon.
Thanks so much for coming by. I look forward to checking out more about Blanko's Block Party in the near future.
Our next exciting under-the-radar pick for check out this game is called Bravery Network Online. It's a competitive RPG with a combat system that's a bit like Pokemon, but if all of the monsters were swapped out with some highly fashionable combatants. Check out some exclusive new gameplay. Like what you see? Then head on over to IGN.com or YouTube.com/IGN to watch the full extended version of this gameplay.
I'm Sydney Goodman, and fans of Spellbreak are probably super stoked about what came at the end of that trailer. And here to talk more with us about Spellbreak is Seth Seebach. Hi, Seth.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So let's just start off. I mean, like I was saying, coming to Xbox and Switch. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, it's super exciting. We're really we've been working on this for a while, and we have been hoping to deliver this. A lot of people in the community have been asking, when are we going to bring it to the Switch and to the Xbox One? I mean, I personally can't wait to play it on my Switch. I love sitting on the couch and using it, so I'm definitely really excited to be able to bring it to those audiences. So we're looking forward to it when we get to full release later this year.
Great. And so it's already on PS4 and PC. Are there plans for crossplay?
Yeah, so we currently, the beta itself that is on PS4 and PC right now has cross matchmaking, and we definitely are looking for to continue to allow for crossplay when we get to full release, and we're excited about really letting players that are anywhere play with their friends. It's one of the things that we have kind of built the idea behind Spellbreak around, is the ability for people to be able to play with their friends whenever they want, and so we're excited to be able to do crossplay at launch.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a lot of friends that play on a lot of different platforms. So anytime a game supports crossplay, I am all for it. So with that said, I feel like a lot of different games handle crossplay different ways. I'm not sure how far you guys are in kind of knowing how you're going to do crossplay, but is it something that maybe you can opt out of and only matchmake against other PS4 players or other controller players? Like, how will crossplay actually function?
Yeah, so definitely you will be able to opt out if you don't want to, and be able to play with just whoever else is on your designated platform. So if you're on the PS4, you can decide you only want to play with PS4 players. So that will be available. And like I said, we have cross matchmaking now. The next step is basically allowing for cross teams, so you can team up with your friends on whatever platform they're on and jump into squads or some of our other game modes as a group.
Mm-hmm. And for everybody who this is your first time seeing Spellbreak, do not worry. We are going to get to talking about the nitty gritty, but I just find crossplay is so exciting. So a few more questions about that. Let's say that I have Spellbreak on PC, but now I'm also going to have it on my Switch. Are you able to have the same profile on both? Like have your achievements and whatever carry over?
Yeah, so that's like getting to true cross progression, which is sort of one account everywhere. And that's something we're definitely looking into. And I think we would love to have be available. That's kind of the dream, right? Is that as a player, you can have your one account play on any platform of your choosing, as long as possible. So that's definitely something that we want to get to.
Awesome. Cross progression. The word was on the tip of my tongue and I basically was just given the definition, but that's okay. Okay, so let's just jump into Spellbreak. For people who don't know what it is, can you just give us like a quick synopsis?
Yeah, so it's an action spellcasting PvP game. The primary game mode that we're launching with is Battle Royale. So you'll be able to team up with up to three players, and it's a 42-person lobbies. And so the biggest difference you'll see here in all the gameplay is, I think, the core combat, which is, of course, spellcasting, because you play as a battle mage, as well as a lot of the like movement abilities. I think the key things that really define Spellbreak are the combat and the kind of sort of like verticality and movement you see in the match. So players are able to do everything from blink to levitate, and you actually equip 2 magical gauntlets, and that's what you use for all of your attacks. So it's sort of a blend of what would be like an ability shooter and a more, I think, like MMO style combat, where you things are on cooldown and you want to be tactical on when you're using your abilities at the right time. So that's kind of what defines Spellbreak.
Yeah, because obviously there's a lot of battle royale games on the market, but I think Spellbreak does a really good job kind of carving its niche, because I definitely haven't played any battle royales like it. But with that said, what similarities maybe for folks who are huge battle royale fans can they expect in Spellbreak?
So I mean, the core of the mode itself is very similar. You want to be the last either squad or individual standing, and you have a set of safe zones that get smaller over time that pull everyone together. You drop in with no loot, and you need to loot as you go. And so those are all the core tenets you'd expect from a battle royale mode exist in Spellbreak. We do try to find ways to make it really fit for the style of game that Spellbreak is, though, because like one of the big differences is, while we do have something like the safe zones, like the new areas outside the circle areas that are iconic in Battle Royale. We also make it so that every time you get to one of those circles, you actually level up your class. So you pick a class in Spellbreak, and each circle you hit, you get stronger and more powerful. And so it's a little bit more like a MOBA in that way than it is, I think, like a standard sort of Battle Royale mode.
Yeah, no, I love that mechanic. I think it's such an interesting thing to add to the Battle Royale genre. With that said, so I'm going to squeeze in like one really quick question because we're almost out of time, but I know that we have a really special announcement at the end of this, and I don't want to cut into that too much. But I think that the community around Spellbreak is so robust, and I know you guys rolled out a new patch about a month ago, and the reaction was super positive. But how do you balance community feedback with kind of you and your team's original vision? Because there seems to be a really good line of communication there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that we focused on as a studio. We've had players playing Spellbreak in some form since the summer of 2018. And the way we kind of look at it is there's three components that we care about. It's really getting the player feedback, where we want to go, and the actual direction that that we see from the stats in the game. And we balance all of those together to make our design decisions. And that's why player feedback has been so critical, and the community has been really helpful for us to make the game what it is today.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy to hear that. I always appreciate like positive relationships between a game and their community. Obviously, I'm not advocating for negative relationships there. Anyways, so you and your team have a really special announcement for everybody who wants to play Spellbreak and all the Spellbreak fans that are watching this stream right now. So why don't you tell them what we got?
Yeah, so we have an exclusive outfit available for those of you that are watching. There's a limited number of them available, but being a new game and a relatively small team, we look to our community to really help us out. And so we thought this would be kind of a cool little reward for folks that are helping us in the early phases as we're still getting Spellbreak close to launch. So the outfit is called Treeline, and so it'll be available for folks that are watching now to go pick up. So we're really excited to be able to offer that to the community.
Yeah, and thank you so much for bringing that to our viewers. So before we go, I know you said an official release date, maybe you had like a time frame?
Later on this year, sometime in 2020.
Thank you so much, Seth. We look forward to hearing more about Spellbreak in the future.
Go to spellbreak.com/IGN to get your free exclusive in-game skin right now. Well, we're almost out of trailers for now, but we still got 2 more IGN Expos coming during the Summer of Gaming, and each will be filled to the brim with premieres and trailers, like some kind of overflowing frozen tropical drink with exotic fruits, and twisty straws, and crazy silly limes, and lemons, and squiggles, and sandwiches, and great stuff.
Delicious. Not only that, but more charity streams, Sony's Future of Gaming event immediately following this, and our Animal Crossing New Horizons Celebrity Island tours on June 16th. For a complete schedule of Summer of Gaming events, and believe me, there is a whole lot more, so make sure you check out IGN.com.
But we aren't done yet. You know, it's hard to think of anything more grossly irresponsible than letting an infant operate a motor vehicle, and yet, here's a game that does exactly that. I hope someone got fired for this one. Let's check it out.
Rated E for everyone.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the slime event of the year. Select your crew and start your engine. 'Cause it's race day. Battle your way through all new slime-filled tracks. Watch out, Leo! With even more of your favorite characters than ever before. Hey there, JoJo. Now race with friends. Compete online. Now that's what I call racing. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 Grand Prix. soon!
IGN Summer of Gaming is brought to you by Fuser, who'll be partying with us all summer long.
A clear white man manager was on the streets trying to consume some search for the eat so I can get some phones rolling in my...
News, games, and more is IGN's live news show every day of the week that covers all the day's news about games, movies, comics, and of course more. This is our daily live show that takes a rotating cast of IGN talent, going over all the latest news of the day while taking live questions and comments from chat. We're live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can find us on mixer.com/IGN, youtube.com/IGN, and twitch.tv/IGN. See you there.
The next generation of video gaming is on the horizon, and IGN is here to bring you the latest PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X news and analysis in our new weekly show, Next Gen Console Watch 2020. We'll bring on the experts to discuss and analyze all the latest developments around these new consoles. From frame rates, services, features, peripherals, and even all the new tech jargon, Next Gen Console Watch 2020 will keep you up to speed on everything leading up to the next generation of gaming. Join us every Friday for a new episode.
Not only is IGN